Welcome along to the Big Idea Show. Today, I'm joined by Randolph Matthews.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
We're going to be talking about the confidence to do just one thing.
Yeah.
The one thing.
The one thing.
That is your one thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about that after these credits. So, Randolph Matthews in the house. Hello.
Hi.
Hi again. So, you are, for those who don't know you, but I don't know if there's anyone who doesn't know you, but you're a vocal jazz performer and musician. Is that the correct way? Is that how you describe yourself?
At this present moment, yes. Okay. Yeah. It's always a big thing. It's like you're evolving as an artist. So people give you sometimes the title, and you kind of go, okay, well, yeah, I suppose I am in that zone and I am in that world. So yes, vocal jazz performer. I do blues and I do lots of kind of cross arts projects as well.
Absolutely. And I did a post the other day asking who are some really great, inspiring performers in Folkestone, and your name came up many a time in there.
That's nice to know.
So Folkestone loves you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So today we're going to be talking about the confidence to do one thing, because it's a conversation we've had a few times now, and I wanted to kind of get you on the show and talk about specifically the confidence area. Like, I love that idea, but it's something that I personally have kind of looked at and considered, but gone, oh, but it's scary to give up those other things. So that's what I'd like to come on to. But before we do that, I'd like to hit you with some quickfire questions.
Go ahead.
Get us in the flow.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, first one, if you were a boxer, what would your walk-on song be?
If I was a boxer, it would probably be Eye of the Tiger.
Okay.
I was singing that yesterday, actually.
Nice. Okay, question 2. What is confidence?
What is confidence? The ability to feel a deep sense of, how can I put it? For me, confidence is like faith. It's like an instilled hope, an instilled conviction to overcome whatever it is. Just the feeling of kind of, I can do this.
Okay. Yeah. And what is motivation?
Motivation, to me, is the ability to keep. For me, it's like motivation is what instills my ability to keep moving forward, and motivation can come from a multitude of different things.
Yeah,
it's like it's almost like tools to keep motivated, to keep moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What is your Dutch courage of choice?
Dutch courage of choice. Integrity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. What would your mantra to life be in a tweet?
My mantra to life would be life is precious, so don't take yourself too seriously.
Okay, nice. What is your lucky number?
My lucky number is, I do like the number 9.
Okay. I like how there's lots of thought in that one.
Yeah. I do like the number 9. I do like the number 9.
It's such a bizarre thing, isn't it? Why we have lucky numbers, but we all do. What's the worst thing someone could say to try and motivate you?
The worst thing that somebody could say to try and motivate me is to motivate me is maybe you can try another time or something like that. I don't know, just like, rather than kind of like, just do it. Let's see what happens. That type of thing I don't like. So, no, I don't want to just see what happens. I want to know that I can do this.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good one. Okay. Can you describe a single moment where you remember feeling most confident or most motivated?
Most confident. I think going through that process of actually, I was doing a performance at the O2 Arenas, and I was so scared of getting up on this stage. And the moment I got up on stage, I was like, what was this all about? But then it was what instilled me afterwards, just because it was a lot of people. And I'd, over those 15 performances, I came out of there feeling like I could conquer the world. It was really one of those. Yeah, it was a real kind of like, I could just do this everywhere. It was the peak of kind of, I think what people sort of like imagine performing is about, is big audiences. Yeah. And it really instilled something very, very clear with me that I can do this. I can do this. I can hold that stage. Yeah. Yeah.
That's confidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. What is one thing that you're currently doing that you'd like to be more motivated to?
Currently doing writing. I feel like I'm in a period where I want to write lots and to express my voice in a broader sense to my fans and the people who love my work, and actually to find those other people, those people who are part of that same idea. Yeah. So I think using my voice more is probably what I want to have more instilled, an outlet to do, the time and try and find the best way I can do that.
And the final quickfire question is, what's something that you're not currently doing that you would like the confidence to do?
Not currently doing that I would like the confidence to do. Cooking.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't cooked for a while because of I'm eating what other people have cooked. Yeah. And some of what I'm eating is not really what I want, but it's just I've got to eat something. Yeah. But yeah, I'd like to be able to cook a bit more. That's cook soul food. I just want to cook some nice soul food, West Indian soul food.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting because you're the second person who said a food-based thing, the confidence to cook more and so okay. Good stuff. Okay, that was our quickfire questions.
Great.
Let's get fully into it now, shall we? Let's hear. The starting point was this conversation about the one thing, the confidence to do the one thing. So can you tell us your story specifically around that journey of kind of before you really focused on this idea of the one thing and kind of where it's that journey through to where you are now?
Yeah. I think you can be pulled, in my career as an artist, you can be pulled in many different directions. I find myself a lot of the time firefighting a lot of different things that come up, and then on top of that, I've got when I was living in London in particular, I was the whole aspect of paying the rent and using your time to sort of find ways to sort of keep that thing rolling kind of eats away on the creative spirit to make sometimes those firmer decisions that will propel your life forward and give you new skills, new tools that you can use again. So I found that over the last kind of couple of years, in particular, the last kind of several years, I've been at the mercy of my own art, sort of just being everywhere. But as you're doing that, you reach certain thresholds in terms of what your art is and how you use. These are the tools that I've got. This is what I developed when I had a certain bit of time. But now I've saturated those tools, and I need to take them deeper because I've reached my threshold. So now I'm almost like on autopilot. I'm a technician of using these tools. And I felt like I was just getting to that point where actually artistically I just couldn't really find more, or more so I didn't have the time to find more. Okay, yeah. It's not that it wasn't there, it's just I didn't have the time. In my head, I just couldn't see where that time was in between, checking stuff on Facebook, emails that need to be kind of going back. Everybody's on urgent. Everybody's like, Randolph, can you bring it back? Randolph,
Yeah.
Randolph,
Yeah.
you know, you've got next gig coming up. Have you got the information? And sort of trying to respond. Until basically I got to a point at in particular, the beginning of this year,
Okay.
I just felt like the rhythm was going to be different. I could just feel like something about this year is going to be different, 2018. And I thought, hold on, it's not calling for me to do the same thing. It's like all my work just stopped for a moment. And I was like, and that's when it really kicks in. It's just like, well, now there's a time, what am I doing with the time that I do have?
Yeah.
And is it going to be, am I going to do something which is, how can I put it, the desperate call? You know, the desperate decisions, the desperate, you know, responses,
out
actions.
survival.
Yeah, like, right, hi,
Yeah.
you know, I'm looking for a job, you know,
Yeah.
and some of that is important. But this was actually calling, no. I can go to do the same type of jobs, or I can recreate and do something which is a new tool. I can create a new tool. I can create a deeper tool.
Yeah.
So that when I do it, it has more impact in terms of its impact for the future and impact on the value that I'm actually bringing and the impact on maybe financially how that supports me as well, because I've gone beyond what I've done so far.
Yeah.
So that was kind of it. And I think at the beginning of the year, I just decided I've got to take a different take.
Do you think did you kind of decide that and then the space was created? So it was kind of more of a conscious thing of, like you said, the gap in kind of the work or the workload at the time? Or did that come about and then you went, actually, this is chose to take it as an opportunity?
I think it was like the winter period for me is always a very kind of consolidating time.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more hibernating for me. And so in those moments, I tend to reflect on the year. I tend to reflect on actually what seems to be coming up next. And I've done this over the last period. But this year, it was just calling for me to simplify everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that mean? I can hear it saying, simplify it.
Yeah.
Simplify. Yeah, you could do that. Of course you can do that. Yeah, and my heart was like saying, but it just doesn't feel right to go into trying to pursue something which actually might not actually create any real impact.
Yeah.
So I think it came out of me, it came all like it was coming to a head. It came to a head. It was like I had the time to reflect and I had the insight which was internally saying, it's not what we're not doing it this time that way.
Yeah.
And then to the nut and bolt of it was that year started to listen to audiobooks quite a lot as my form of inspiration. And it just happened that I was at Zurich airport coming back, and I had downloaded this book and was just like, oh, okay, this looks all right. It was like called The One Thing. And literally I read, you know, I got to the airport at like 5 and my flight was at 9 o'clock, I think it was. And I was compelled so much I nearly missed my flight because I was reading the book.
Amazing.
And it was literally, it said, you know, what's the one thing that you can do that will make everything easier or unnecessary? That by doing it would make everything easier and less unnecessary. And that's when it clicked for me.
Yeah. So I want to hear about the how you did it and kind of going what is necessary and what isn't. But first, what was the impact? Like, what's been the impact since then on both your work and your experience of your work, your life, and everything that this is all for? So
I think the big thing was, I'll take it from a sort of home point of view. So I came back home after this this kind of click moment, and I looked at the house and I was like, what's the one thing that's going to give me the space to get into my one thing to do with my career artistically? If I'm in this house, what is it that I need to do to give me that space? And I was like, well, hold on, space. I need my space.
Yeah.
And we had this room upstairs, which had been like a bedroom stroke dump room.
Yeah,
everybody's got that one. And I basically was like, right, hold on, I'm going to claim this as my space. So I spoke with my partner, and I said, we had the dialogue, and I said, look, I feel I need to focus on one thing. I need a space where I'm not interrupted by anybody, so I can unravel this one thing and focus on this one thing when I want to and how I want to, without feeling like things will need to be moved. You know, so I was working downstairs in the main room, and once the kids came, I had to then pick up all my stuff and move it somewhere else. And it was counterproductive, because it meant that it took longer for me to get back to my one thing, because I had to set things up and just get in the zone. So I set the room up. I set it up. I put paper. I got big pieces of paper, marker pens. I wrote stuff on the walls. I wrote motivational things on the wall, statements. I wrote, things to do, how to practice better on the wall. I wrote the word pentatonic, which is a particular scale, which accommodates for most of my work, as opposed to a classical scale. I was like, to remind me, that's the one scale to do. Don't do any other scale. Only do this scale. And that's when it started to unravel. And so as I looked in the room, I could see that there was this simplification of ideas or tools for me to work on over and over again. So the biggest thing was the space. The space to be able to learn, to be able to focus, and to be able to take the work deeper. Yeah,
I like it how as well. It's not just I guess the one thing that you should be doing, but applying that one thing to every area. Like, what's the one scale? What's the one thing about my home environment? What's those bits?
And it affected my children as well, which I really saw quite, because they knew, because they heard me doing my one thing over and over again, or clearly, they knew that Daddy was practicing. They were able to recognize it. They didn't interrupt it, because I had made it very clear that I'm taking my work deeper. And then as a result, I won an award. I was put up for nomination for a Jazz FM award. And I know that I know that the kids were seeing me practice, hearing me practice, and I know that they made an association that because he did this, it led to this. And I think that was a real sort of clarity thing for me, because I saw that once I started to do this work more clearly, my work became more definable. And my team became more definable around me, because ultimately there was nothing else for us to focus on. We just focused on one thing, the focus on me as a performer, and we got that message out to people, and we built everything around that message going out as well. So I think it quite fundamentally changed the way that I sort of looked at what was important at the end of the day, and then started to focus in that direction.
So what was the experience of making that choice? I'm assuming it was quite freeing to go, all that other stuff I don't have to worry about. It's just fluff and noise.
It came after a process of feeling slightly unconfident about this, because the perception is the word busy. So to be busy, be busy.
It's a huge trap, isn't it?
It's the trap. So to multitask what you're doing. So to do lots of things, and to say that is actually okay. And I had to go through a process of actually realization that I had been, just honest reflection, that I had been counterproductive. I had not been productive with what I was doing. I had to go through that process of going, oh my gosh, it's like I've not been able to do very much more deeper because I'm doing all of these things really, really badly.
Yeah.
And we've built a society that has been built on, you know, people multitasking to get the most out of them, but actually you're getting the worst productivity out of them. Which is a very, very interesting thing because it made me. I went to what was it? It was like a shopping mall, and this lady was holding like two things in her hand, or my partner was holding two things in her hand, and I think she dropped one of them, and the lady said, "Oh, you know, gosh, you know, it's hard sometimes to do the multitasking, isn't it? But we're really good at it." And I was like, and in my mind I went, No, you're not good at it.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. It's actually not. And but it was because of my own work that I was able to see how counterproductive it actually became in society.
Yeah.
When you're holding 6 or 7 things, but actually you're not able to hold them strong enough for them to actually have the support, the benefit that they could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you go through kind of, you recognise that and then going, right, so what are the things that have to get put down or dropped and not picked back up again? The courage to go against, like you said, society and our inbuilt, oh, but I should do it, to drop those. How did you decide them, I guess, would be the first one, what goes? And then what was that experience like to actually shed them, go, right, they are gone?
Yeah. So what I did was I actually did it like a bit of an exercise.
Okay.
I looked at different areas and I said, right, first of all, let me look at my career. And I put this question in terms of my bigger picture. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what's the one thing if I do it right now, today, will affect my week? What would I do in that week that will affect my month? What in that month would affect my 5 years or the year? What in my year will affect the 5 years, and what in the 5 years will affect my someday? And my someday being that big thing that I'm maybe looking at, you know, like touring around the world, you know, 600 times, you know.
But do you have to know, for you to do that, did you have to be very clear on what that someday would be? Or, because I think that's the challenge that a lot of people have. Well, how do I choose the one thing if I don't know what that someday thing is?
Actually, I think it came out of those two things working together. So we sort of, it's almost like looking at it, it's like, well, I want to go to Mars. Okay, so I want to go to Mars. That's my someday thing. I want to go to Mars. Uh-huh. So first of all, and then from there, I was thinking kind of backwards, but thinking about what's the one thing that's going to affect me getting to Mars.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like, well, what is it? What would I need to do to get to Mars? Well, I need to train to become an astronaut. Right, so I'm going to start to look at astronaut stuff every day. Yeah. And get on, you know, do my biochemistry and my sciences and da-da-da. So all of a sudden it started to make me think of the smaller things. And I had loads of them. Loads of things came up. Yeah. And then I started to go, yeah, but there's one out of these things which consolidates everything that I will do every day, that then will affect my week and affect my month. And then I started to look at what's that one thing in the month that affects the year, and then what's that one thing in that year. So it became it started to become very clear, but it took a period of time to just allow everything to exist first. Yeah. All the things that I thought I should be doing, and then actually looking at the one thing that really, really was one, exciting and challenging, but two, that's it. That's the one thing that will take me forward this week. Yeah. That will when I look at it over a month, will accumulate to what I'm looking to see in that month. Yeah,
I like that accumulation. And did you find, you said it took that period, and did you find that you almost had to go out before you could come in? Like you said, there was lots of things that came up. Yeah. When you really looked at it and looking at it in an exercise kind of way, that you kind of realised you had more. Like I said, almost having to go out before you can come back in again, or were you fairly kind of good at kind of chucking stuff out?
I'm quite good at chucking things out. I have to admit, I'm like that at home. I'm very much, if it's not being used and it's just accumulating dust, and it's like energy, and I just think, let's get rid of it and bring in new energy, and we should never be afraid to bring in new energy, and new inspiration, new motivation, new confidence, refreshed vows of life, refine our ethics of how we are, how we want to contribute to our community. So I had to look at it big first, and then at this stage in my life, because a 20-year-old looking at it, or a 10-year-old looking at it, or a 30-year-old looking at what is important for them, it's going to be different. And sometimes you can't base it on what you did 10 years ago. You've got to base it on where you are now and what's fundamentally important. So it takes a bit of time to just it takes the moment to be able to just question, is this of value to me anymore? Because if it's of value to me, it can be of value to somebody else. If it's just hanging with me, and I've just got it as, it can be just heavy staticness to somebody else. And weight. It can just be weight when we can have lightness and direction, and use that in a more confident and motivational way.
Yeah. And do you think, just so I know it's never a case of, because everyone's in a different stage in their life and have done different amount of kind of looking at this sort of stuff, but just to give people, how long, when you say there was that period of kind of looking, exploring, going out maybe before you can come in, approximately how long was that for you personally?
Yeah, I would say it started with, it probably was about 3 months.
Okay.
So that 3-month period was like, because it takes it takes a certain bit of time for it to become a habit.
Yeah.
And I needed a stretch of time which was longer than I would normally look at something for it to become a habit of thought.
Yeah.
So that any decisions that I was making was going to be based on, but what's the one thing? What's the most important thing? What will serve the purpose right now? What would really serve the purpose?
Yeah.
And I think it took that period, and it actually only started with one particular direction as well. I didn't do lots of them. It's just as a result of looking at one particular area, it was transferable. It was like a transferable skill, or transferable sort of sense of looking at something in all of those areas as they came up.
Okay.
So my decision making became clearer.
Yeah.
The type of results that I felt were coming through were clearer, because I let go of the things which actually didn't do anything else. They just were good ideas. It's nice idea, but does it take us? Does it move us forward? And there's always untold ideas in the world. That's what I love about this world. There's ideas everywhere.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take you forward, and you've just got to decide which one is your starting point for everything that you want to see.
Yeah.
Longer than just maybe a short-term sort of week-to-week basis, but actually would really over time affect you in a very positive way, whether it's your health. When you look at health, we have to consider the repetition of things that we do, whether it's eating, eating. If I was to look at eating, it's like, I started to think of just eating. It's like, well, what's the one thing I can do more? It's like, well, water. I don't drink enough water.
Yeah.
I don't, so maybe I start with that first and foremost and see how things move from there. Yeah,
I really like how you described it, and kind of going for something that could be quite kind of big and scary as a concept if people really embrace it. And, the theme is kind of talking around the confidence to do that, but then kind of really taking it back going, you only need to look in one area, and that you really kind of condensed it and simplified it in my mind to go, just start it in one and use that thing, be it, food or exercise or those kind of maybe less risk related to kind of being secure in terms of work, for example, that I could apply to learn the habits or the techniques to then apply it to the bigger, more scary areas of your life. Where totally. the decisions are more significant.
Yeah, totally. I think everything is transferable in that respect, and I think that the family decisions have been bringing it back to being a father, it's been really, really clear for me, because when I talk when I talk with my partner about, you know, things that we want to do, it's just like I'm really working with her for us to find the one thing that we will do.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, the effect that it has had equally on my approach with the boys has been to allow them to experience one thing happening at a time, as opposed to sometimes you get wrapped up in sort of like, you know, do that, you know, come to, you know, you need to pick up this, you know, why have you not got your trousers, you know, fixed and blah, 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 your shoelaces, and you're firing things at them, which are coming from very different directions because they're moving sometimes in a sort of like fluctuating with what's in front of them. But I think there is something to be said about actually recognizing some of the statements that you are giving them, which actually is taking them forward as well. And that's what I found really quite clear, which is like, brush your teeth first.
Yeah.
No, don't do anything else. Just brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Now, do your shoelaces.
Yeah.
Your shoes. Now do your... And for them, it helps them to move forward as opposed to moving round and being frustrated, actually, which I think, if I was to look at it back again into people, I think people eventually can feel frustrated with the whole aspect of just kind of like, where am I going?
Definitely.
I think there's a point where it comes to it where you kind of go, I just don't know where I'm going with this. You know, what's your calling? I've got no idea. And I think I don't want to not have a calling. I don't want to not know where I'm going. I want to know where I'm going more clearly. Even if it's just until the next month. I think there's a lot of scope to, even for the next week, there's a lot of scope to know where you're going, what's important for you in the midst of everything else that you might be firefighting. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, that's awesome stuff. And I just want to ask you quickly, it's slightly off topic, but you kind of touched on it loosely, was, I guess, finding your one thing and kind of for you as a performer, just sharing us a little bit about, because we talked about this briefly before we turned the cameras on, around the importance of doing what is right for you as a contribution to others, as opposed to thinking we have to go over there and help others with their thing, rather than expressing ourselves is helping others.
You see, I think what's important is, even with the big picture, for example, you might have a big picture which is like, I want to inspire the world, okay? And for me, that is a picture. That is definitely a picture. I want to inspire people to be inspired in themselves.
Yeah.
And most of my work, 90% of the work which I do, using tools to, whether it's through teaching or facilitating or performances, is they've bought a ticket. They think that they've come in to just watch music because they like music, but it's more than that. They're not just coming to watch music. They're coming to be lifted. As the artist, you know that's a role that you play for them. But it comes out of a compelling vision that you have of yourself as knowing, this is my thing, I'm confident with it, or I go through the journey of becoming more confident with it. And through that then means that if I can feel this, I can really give it to them truthfully as an artist.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, whether it's vulnerability that you want to share with them, whether you want to kind of share with your audience, it's okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel insecure. It's a fact of life.
Yeah.
We need that. We need that softness as much as the hardness. And I think with this in mind of the one thing, I think the one looking at this more clearly has allowed me to be able to take more ownership of it, to be able to stand stronger alone with it, knowing that if I can stand up with this, not in an intellectual way, but actually it's in my skin, and I talk from the in the skin thing, as opposed to what I've picked up from other great motivational speakers, but I've never actually lived myself, then it becomes a true essence, a true value, a true energy, a truer contribution to society and to where people are at and actually what people are looking for. And it means that then you start to find your tribe, your people who are connected to that type of message.
Yeah.
Not you, they're connected to the message that you were talking about. Martin Luther King was exactly the same. Nobody came to see Martin Luther King. They came because of what his message that he spoke. And that's what they found. They found the message in him that said, oh my gosh, he believes the same thing that I do, that equality, that people deserve to we deserve to have equal rights. We deserve to not have to use hard power to make this happen. We can use soft power to fight this cause. He believes in what I believe. And now I can see that I'm not on my own. They believe in what I believe. So those marches were not. He just had clarity of the message, and he had clarity of the message based on his own experience of that message as well.
And that's, I guess, the huge power of finding your one thing, because then you can be the messenger for your thing.
That's right.
That you want to contribute. Powerful stuff. Randolph, it's been absolutely awesome speaking to you. Is there any last words before we give people kind of the links for where they can find out more information about you, your work, everything you do?
Take some time.
Yeah.
I would say take some time to really reflect and go through a wonderful process of just re-inviting the opportunity to look at the one thing that has possibly been your driving force as a individual before everything else came on board to maybe sometimes move it in different directions. My thing as a child was I did this one thing, and I found out that actually performance has always been my one thing as a tool that I've used to inspire or to make people feel happy when I was 7 years old at home. So that's the journey that I went on. I went looking, searching for it to go, I've always done this. I have always done this. Not just when I decided to leave to work to do music. It was like it was always there. So I really just challenge you to have the audacity to challenge the consensus of what your time is about. To have the audacity to empathize with your own journey, and to have the audacity to get it to one thing. Start with 10 and then strip it back and back and back until you have just one thing in different areas of your life. Or look at one direction, one point of your life that is most in need of your abided attention and focus, because it will transform everything that you do.
Powerful stuff. I'm definitely on that thread. I'm in that same kind of, I'm at that early stage at the beginning of the 3 months I'm looking at. So
and
it's an exciting time.
And just remember, don't be hard on yourself if you don't feel confident with it at first. That is the process, because you're unraveling something, as opposed to, as soon as I do this, I feel great. I know exactly where I'm going. No, actually, it won't. It could take whatever it takes. But I think the first thing is the first step, and that's the first step of a 1,000-mile journey.
Yeah.
It's taken with one step. So
there we go. The one first step.
The one first
step
to
the
one thing.
So where can people find out more information about you, your upcoming gigs, all that sort of stuff? What's all the social and all the web?
Socials are Instagram, Randolph J. Matthews, I think it is. There's my website, has probably the most clarity in terms of all the things that I'm kind of looking to do. And Facebook, Randolph Matthews official fan page. And you'll find me there.
Brilliant. And what's the website?
www.randolphmatthews.co.uk.
There we go, easy. Randolph, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
It's been awesome. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.